My goal today is to talk about how you can create love in your relationship with a deep understanding of each other and deep connection amongst each other. My name is Sanya Bari. I'm a relationship therapist, and I teach people how to use very difficult relationship situations such as infidelity, divorce, breakup, or just a disconnection, and how to use those very painful moments that we all have in our relationships to not only learn about yourself and to make yourself into a better version of who you are, but to take your relationship to a level that is much, much grander and more beautiful, more connected to what it ever was before. I'm going to talk to you about how we can create a deeper understanding, and then we're going to go into how a deeper connection can be created based on that understanding. You can't understand someone if you don't know how to listen effectively, if you don't know how to talk in a way that people will listen to you in the way that you are conveying it. One of the chief complaints that I have from every single one of my couples and individuals that walk through my doors for relationship therapy is that I don't feel like I'm heard. My partner can't understand me. I don't feel that my partner cares about me because they don't understand me. And so this is something that is very, very important for us to take on. Many people think that when it comes to communication, when it comes to understanding, the bigger piece is about the articulation, how a person is saying it. However, this is a very big misunderstanding. The biggest problem with people and why they can't understand the other person is reception. They don't know how to receive it. Now, understand that my couples are very intelligent, hardworking, successful people, but they are good at communicating it in every single arena of their life, and they're coming up and they're saying, everybody can understand me, everybody gets me, my partner doesn't get me. As an example, I had one of the couples that I helped through their marriage owned a very successful communication company. Now, that is a very prime example of how this is not an issue of intelligence. It's not an issue of understanding. What it is it's an issue of emotions. This is not a relationship that's a work relationship. It is a relationship of the heart. So unless you learned to listen from the heart and to speak from the heart, really nothing is ever going to change. My goal here today is going to be to teach you how to listen in a way that you can hear and how to speak in a way that you can be heard. So let's do this. The first thing is going to be intentions. I want you to understand what your intention is. Be clear on that. Is your intention to make the relationship or break the relationship? With whatever you're going to say, are you trying to be your partner's mentor and give them some guidance with love, not in a way to break them, but to make them? Or are you just trying to get a venting session out? Do you just want to be angry? Do you just want to let it out? And let me say that, our partners are there to support us through things. And once in a while, we do want to just let it out, so to speak, vomit it out. And if that's the case, it's very important to say that listen, I'm going through a lot, and I just want to be able to vent. I don't know if your partner can take it, but if they can, then it's very important to know what you are doing and to convey that to the other person so that they can be ready and respond in the right way. Now, if your intention is that I want to speak so that I can convey this thing that's inside my heart to this person that I love, or I want to convey this to my partner because I love them and I really want them to know, then there is a different way of speaking. This whole part that I'm talking about right now is just setting up before you speak. Now, when you begin to speak to your partner, you have to state your intention. And I like to tell my clients to say that when they start speaking to their partner, that my intention is to speak from the heart and to hear from the heart. This lets us get off of our ego train and to realize that the communication that's going to go on right now is amongst two lovers, two partners that care about each other. This is not a business transaction or a housekeeping issue. This is a connection of the heart. Now, I usually, because sometimes when I'm speaking, I can sometimes have a very high volume when I'm excited, or I'm worried sometimes that my tone is going to be harsher than I want it to be. And if I feel that that's going to be the case, if I feel like I'm still a little bit too activated when I start speaking, which I don't recommend, it's very important for you to say that my intention is to keep my volume down and my tone to be loving. And if I, during this time, if I change, please just tell me. And it's very important to get this started when you're talking to your partner. What you're doing right now is you are inviting your partner to a partnership in this communication. It's not that, hey, come here, I'm going to talk down to you and it's going to be a monologue. It's even when I'm speaking, I'm asking asking my partner for for feedback, because I'm speaking to a person. I am cognizant of that, and I express that with my words and with my actions. So if my partner does at some point say, you know what, you got to bring your tone down a little bit, and your volume's too high, not to get offended, but to take that as mentorship. Understand the focus is your message. It's not, your ego boost that needs to be massaged at this moment. So, that's my first thing that I would say when you start speaking, that not only know your intention, but then tell your intention to your partner. Now, number 2 is what I say, don't be the judge, jury, and executioner. And this is a very important technique that I teach my clients it's basically what it is prefacing. Preface what you're going to say. If I'm going to say anything that is my perspective, it is only my story. It is only my perspective. And when we come out and we say something like, I know you did this and you were there, so you definitely were trying to do this. This was totally premeditated. And when we speak in that way, and especially when we're confronting someone, you have to admit the fact that what you're about to say is only your side of the story. It's not their side. And there are many other sides other than yours and their side. So in order to bring that reality into consciousness, my request is to preface it by saying things like, my fear is that you don't care about me. My truth is that I really got hurt. My truth is I really got scared just now. Or one of the things is, my story is, this is my story. This is something Brene Brown also says. My story is that, you don't like the way I look, or something like that. And these are the prefaces that we can use to deepen our communication into vulnerabilities, saying what your vulnerability is, and to say difficult things that we're worried that our partner is going to react to, but we still really do need to get it out. The third thing I'm going to say about deepening our understanding and communication would be to be vulnerable. One of the reasons that we are not vulnerable with each other is because we're scared we're going to get hurt. Now, the problem with this is that it's a very vicious cycle. I'm scared that I'm going to get hurt, so I'm going to put my wall up. But because I'm putting my wall up, my partner can't feel me. I can't feel my partner. So we have like a wall between us that I put up. And so we're likely going to break. And when we're going to break, then obviously what I thought my hypothesis was correct, that I was good to put the wall up. So the next time I have a new partner, or I'm going in with the same partner, my wall is going to be stronger and I'm going to cycle faster and faster. So what I'm saying is that let it go. If you are finding that you have these barriers, go to a therapist or talk to yourself, journal about it. What is this wall that you're keeping up that is not allowing you to completely give into love or to receive love? It is important to have boundaries. I'm not talking about boundaries. Boundaries are permeable. They let people in and they let people out. In fact, they are important for us to be able to preserve who we are, protect others from us, and us from others. But walls divide. And that's something you're gonna have to get rid of if you want to have proper communication. If I'm gonna communicate with you and I have my wall up, my ego is on. You can't reach me. I'm really not, not myself. I'm my protective self. Yeah, but I'm really not myself. I'm getting upset at everything. Every time you're speaking to me, I'm scanning it to see if you're gonna hurt me. No matter what I give you, no matter what mechanics I give you about deepening your understanding and your communication with the other person, none of that is going to work unless you let your guard down. Chill out and know that you are no longer a child that needs protection, that needed those walls. You probably needed that when you were younger, but revise that in your adulthood. You are now able to take care of yourself. Have faith in that you're going to be okay no matter what. Taking that faith forward, when you're taking the trouble, because having a relationship is a lot of trouble, it's a lot of work. When you're taking the trouble to have a relationship, just have a relationship. Just love the other person. Just bare your soul to the other person. Don't hold back, because that's going to spoil your relationship. So that's my third thing. Now, the last thing I'll give you in the realm of communication and deepening understanding is a trick without teaching you a long communication course or guideline. One of the quickest way that I teach people communication is that when your partner is speaking to you, let's imagine that your partner is speaking to you about something that they're upset with you about that happened between you two. When they're going to be telling you that this is what I'm upset at, they're telling you their story. See, I'm calling it a story. And when they're telling you their story, if you're a normal human being, while they're telling you their story, there's going to be a video that'll start playing in your head. That's going to be your perspective that was happening simultaneously as they're relating their story. So truthfully, you're not even really listening to them. So when two people communicate like that, neither one of them feels received and nothing really gets solved. So my greatest request is that when your partner is telling you their story, I understand that your video is playing for you, that a lot of what they're saying is totally wrong. You don't agree with it. Got it. Just in that moment, while your partner is speaking, get out of the video that's playing for you, get out of the movie that's playing for you, and get into their movie. Sometimes if I see I'm on autopilot and my movie starts playing when somebody else is trying to tell me something, I will ask them, just stop for 1 second. Just give me 1 second. I was in the wrong frame of mind. You get into the right frame. The frame is as much as humanly possible. Get into what's happening for them. And one of the biggest reasons that people have a hard time doing this is this ridiculous belief that if I let go of the movie that's playing for me for whatever time that I'm listening to my partner, that my perspective is going to go away. It's going to be lost. Well, I assure you it's not going to happen. And if it is going to happen, you probably didn't have a perspective that was worth holding on to. But, and the reason that this technique, this quick little technique works so well is because when you are able to see something from another person's perspective, your humanity kicks in. As an example, we sometimes watch movies where the director and the producer are able to take us from this perspective of this guy who's killing his mom. And somehow all of us in the theater are rooting for this guy to kill his mom. Why in the world are we doing that? Because he took us through his perspective of how he came to this decision. So this is a very, very quick technique that you can use to be in a place where you can receive your partner in a loving way, and then when it's your turn, you can ask for the same back. Last thing I want to say about communication before I move on to connection is that one of the greatest gifts you can give to your partner is the gift to receive them, to listen to them fully, and to receive them. One of the rarest things that I see in people, without crying, without being conscious, is that you will be the partner that no one can leave, because it is this rare. It's this rare to actually be able to put yourself aside for just a brief while. You can take that back on, but just for a brief while, and just listen and receive your partner. Now I'm going to talk about connection. And one of the most important things I want to say about connection is that it's not about quantity, it's about quality. Many times people will say, we spent a good 2 hours together. We went on this trip together. And one of the ways that you can understand how the quality of the connection can be the greatest is when you are facing each other. Your eyes are connecting. You are able to look inside the eyes of your partner and your lover, and you are able to be in the presence of their energy and just to take that in. Basically, what I'm really trying to say is that the quality of connection comes when you are completely experiencing your partner. Once again, just like I said in communication, this is one of the greatest things you can do, is to receive your partner. And this is a deepening of the receiving by connecting in this way with eyes. One other thing I want to tell you about communication is that is your communication mostly about operational issues, or are there intimate conversations going on? Especially when people have had a long relationship, sometimes we get into the habit of having just operational housekeeping type issues, type conversations with our partner. And unfortunately, we're reserving that wonderful, beautiful conversations where we're talking about our emotions, we're talking about our feelings and excitements or hopes and plans for the futures, or things that went on that were fun or not fun. We're saving that for our friends. And unfortunately, sometimes these are the kinds of things that lead to extramarital affairs as well. Because as I said, when you are not received by your partner is going to stop saying things to you. And if they stop saying things to you, the connection dies, the communication dies, and then the relationship dies. So make sure that you are taking the time to talk about real, like fun stuff, things that are important to you, not just housekeeping issues. I want to tell you about the concept of bids. This concept came from John Gottman, and it is bids for affection. And to me, this is the most basic unit of connection. And let me illustrate it with this classic example, that there's a man who's sitting in a chair and he's reading a newspaper, and there's a woman who's by a window and she's looking out the window to a lake and a boat in a lake. And she exclaims, she's like, "Wow, this is such a beautiful scene." And so her husband who's sitting there, her partner who's sitting there, he has a few options. One, he just didn't know that she even said anything. She's just not in his field of attention. And how many times don't we do that to our partners? We just didn't even hear them. Then there could be another option where he hears her, but he goes in the negative. He's like, "Well, of course you're looking at this boat because you don't have anything to do," and something like that. Or they could have this thing in their relationship where they say things to each other, but they're really not hearing. And she could be saying, "I'm jumping out the window," and they'd be like, "Mm-hmm, mm-hmm," and she knows what he's doing. So later that day, if he wants to get it on and she doesn't want to, the reason this example is good and I like it is because it's such an insignificant moment in the life of a couple. She's not going to say, "Wait, I don't want to get it on with you because you weren't looking at the scene in the window with me." That's not really the case. The case is that when we keep missing each other's bids for affection, we don't feel loved. We don't feel that very vulnerable place that I'm asking you to open up to, to your partner, that it's safe for you to open that up. And so my request is, my greatest encouragement is to always have the scanner open to look for the bits of affection of your partner. Now, I'll tell you that when I had little kids, I would have my girlfriends with me who didn't have children, and my tiny little kid from the third row of my car would say something to me, and I would hear them, and my friends would be like, what? I mean, how did you hear her saying that? But I would hear her because my field of attention was open. Now, a lot of us that are in longer relationships, and especially ones that have children, or ones that are working with our partners, and there's a lot of time spent together, we tend to sometimes accidentally tune our partner out. This is a very, very big mistake. Even as a young mother, I began to make that mistake until I caught it and fixed it. It is so important for your children to hear that when your partner is speaking to you, that you are taking the time to connect to them. Unfortunately, the lesson that we keep giving our children, ourselves, and in cases when we don't have our children, or maybe we're working together or something else, our partner, that the message we're giving them is that my partner isn't important. All of you people and things and situations are more important. That doesn't feel good. Because most of the time we got into this relationship, into this business, into whatever, for our partner. It was the love that got us together. Let's not forget that. Before them, it was just us. So make sure that you are tuned into your partner. Teach your children as early as 1.5 to 2 years old. Try to teach them how to wait. Wait until I've listened to, daddy or your partner. Teach them by telling them to keep their hand on your shoulder or somewhere on your body. And you touch their hand to let them know that you see them. But don't attend to them if they're interrupting. Make sure you listen to your partner first. When you are speaking to your child, then, when it's the child's turn, you give the child your full attention. And then you give your partner or whether it's your friend, this is an important lesson to teach children. And it's a very, very important lesson to learn for yourself, that you have to keep your field of attention. Now, regarding bids, this can sometimes be misused. As an example, if there is a woman who is feeling that, my partner, he isn't like giving me any attention today. Like I'm not feeling good, and I just really want to spend some more time with him. And let's imagine that this guy is watching a game on TV, and she has this energy, she's feeling it, and she's thrown out a few bits for affection, and they haven't really happened. And so you can see her energy in the house. She's banging the kitchen cabinets or something, and he can feel that she's not upset. So he basically goes down a little bit. He's like, oh my God, she's gonna be upset. I better just hide here, as if she doesn't know what he's doing, and he truly is hiding. And so at some point she announces, you know what? I'm going for a walk. And what she really wants, what really that statement is that is a bid for affection. What she really wants is for him to go to the walk with her. But she doesn't say it. See, no, our partners they're not mind readers. They are not supposed to be mind readers. As adults, it is our responsibility that each of us communicate to our partner what we want. Drop the damn ego and communicate to your partner what you want. Become vulnerable and communicate. So in that moment, let's imagine that she doesn't communicate and she just goes out for a walk, and he's like, good, let her go for a walk. She let off some steam. She's been upset this morning, it seems. And then so she goes for a walk. The whole time she's walking, she's not calming herself down. She has more rebuttals in her head. She's steaming up. She's worse than when she came in. And so what my request is that both of you become partners. Become partners in this task of beautifying, maintaining, developing, cherishing, and nourishing your relationship. Don't be like, you know what? I'm going to ask this and I'm going to see if you figure this out. If you're going to be in a place of, figuring out who's done it, you're always going to be on different sides of the table. This relationship is not going to work. It is just going to be a competition. It's going to be a transaction. It's going to be, an involvement or something, entanglement, but it's not a relationship. A relationship is between two parties that are on the same side of the table. We're not perfect. We're going to make mistakes, but we are on the same side of the table. So before she goes, my request would be that she she can say, okay, I'm going for a walk, and the guy didn't pick it up. At that moment, my request from that woman would be to say, that was a bid. She doesn't have to say that was a bid for affection. That's too long. That's maybe too vulnerable. And I like that sentence. I give this sentence to my clients because it doesn't have charge in it. Another way to say it is, I'm really going to feel hurt if you don't come with me. That's a little bit more difficult to say. So say that sentence, that was a bid. And if you hear that, as her partner, if you hear that, please get up and go with her. If it is a very important game, then right there, make an agreement with her. And don't be like talking to her while she's back there. Give her your full attention. Hold her hands. Tell her, I love you and I want to be with you. This is the time that I'm putting aside that we're going to spend together. And of course, if your partner is important to you, you're going to show up and you're going to do that. So that's my thing about bids. Understand that one of the points that I've mentioned just now when I was speaking about the bids is being on the same team. You've got to get this partnership together. This is important. So this is definitely one of my points that I'm giving you. Now, my third point is going to be creating a benefit of the doubt in your relationship. Don't just automatically assume, again, that whole concept of who's done it. Don't automatically assume that your partner is here to hurt you. Yes, you've gotten hurt in the past, but have some, see, maybe it's just your perspective. Let the other person speak. Give the other person a chance. Give them a benefit of the doubt. I'm not telling you to lie to yourself, to pretend there isn't a problem, but be open that this person who I care about deserves that benefit of the doubt from me a little bit more than I would give to other people. The other thing I'm going to say is be curious. Be curious about your partner, especially when we get into relationships that get a little bit longer. Just because the human mind works that way, we start to, ascribe roles to our partners, like, oh, he is the husband or the dad or the boyfriend or the whatever, and so we kind of, start to either we'll ascribe a role to them, which is really bad, and I'll talk about roles in a minute. The other thing we'll do that is very dangerous is to assume that, yeah, he always says no. He's always angry. He never wants to come out when we're going for a walk. She is never going to want to accompany me in this. So don't be like that. When you do that, you dehumanize a person. The same thing, I'm going to speak about this being curious along with speaking about role playing, which both of these things dehumanize a person. Now, role playing is that if I am going to play the role of a wife, I'm going to force my husband to play the role of a husband. And the other way around. If I'm playing the role of let me speak about the easiest one to speak about for role playing is mother and child. If I play the role of a mother, I force my child to play the role of a child. And so anytime my child does something that's a little bit around that is not according to my unique idea of what a child needs to do, I'm going to put him straight. And this does not allow my child to express themselves as themselves, because I'm giving them the impression that there's no room for that here. And when I do that, I can't be myself, because now I am mom, so I can't be just me, and I can't see my child for who my child is. Just like that, I can't see my husband for who he is, because I've already put a role on him. So this is how we dehumanize people. Now, when I look at my 20 years of motherhood, my eldest one is 20. When I look at it and I think about in pictures as in a movie that's, quickly moving in front of my eyes, one of my favorite moments in that motherhood are the ones when I just let myself loose. I was not playing the role of mom. I was not trying to put my son or my children in some perfectionist role. And I was just being me. And right when I would do that, as beautiful as children are, they behave that way as well. And when I look back at my marriage, which is 24 years, one of my most fun parts, and thank God there's many of those, are ones when I wasn't playing the role of a wife, when I was just me. I was loving myself being me. I was loving whatever my partner was being, without any judgment on what he needs to be or doesn't need to be. And that is the juice of life. That is the beauty of life. And so we have to make sure that we don't miss out on that. Last thing I want to say about both of these things, the role playing as well as not being curious and just pre-deciding the personalities of our partner, is the dehumanization that comes with it, and the programming. When we do those things, the human mind does this to organize thoughts, to make it more convenient. But in a relationship, this doesn't work, because we are working on programming. And when we work on programming, we are not really our true selves. We are just like a version of ourselves. And when we are not living our lives from that authentic, true place inside us, there isn't much joy there. There could be happiness, there could be satisfaction, but joy and fulfillment, those higher order things, for those to happen, you actually have to live your life from the perspective of being authentically you and not having a judgment about other people, and allowing them to be authentically themselves as well. So the next thing I'm going to say is create traditions. Create traditions in your relationship. We have a crazy tradition that my husband created, that every time it snows or there's a snowstorm and we're stuck at home because of it, we get some food, we take out or we make food, and we have a picnic in front of the fireplace. I don't even know where he came up with it. I wish I was that creative, but these are the kinds of, they're just like weird, crazy traditions. It's very important for you guys to have little traditions. These are traditions. For example, this will have to wait for the snow for that to happen. Me and my son have this thing where we have a way that we say goodbye. I would say it right now, but I think I would embarrass my son. But we have a cute way of saying goodbye with my youngest son. And and when I really, really encourage my partners, my couples to have cute little ways that you guys just like adopt. Just say it. I'm starting a tradition, and then just do that. And maintain it. So it's very customized. It's the spice of a relationship to do some of these things. Other things that are in the line of having like a spice in your relationship other than traditions. This is how you customize your relationship. When your partner is missing, or when you think of your partner, these are the weird and crazy things that make you and your partner him, and your relationship the beautiful thing that it is. Other things that I'll say is that play a lot of games together. There are a lot of online games that you can play, couples can play there. Some of them are straight up questions. What would you do if? And then, you don't have to be together when you're playing it. You're at work, he's at work, and you're playing it. And that's really, it's a good way to create connection, words with friends type games, but other games too that are more about the relationship games. There are some games that I really recommend my clients to play that are more like, sex or touching oriented, and they create this naughtiness in your relationship that is extremely important. Why is it that when we have committed ourselves to our partner, who's obviously a wonderful person for us, otherwise we wouldn't take out the entire population of, for example, me taking out an entire population of men out for me just to be with this person. Obviously this is somebody we care about. Why is it that we don't send love messages to them during the day? Why is it that we won't send a cute, you don't have to send a naked picture, but a cute picture, a sexy picture, a loving picture, a picture of why aren't we communicating in ways to spice up our relationship that express our love and excitement for each other? Why is it that only other people who are beginning their relationships get to have fun like that? Which is why I like these games, these apps that you can download on your phone, and you guys can play these together. Another thing that I'll say is that have humor in your life. Laugh together, do fun and silly things together. It is so important to maintain humor in your relationship. Have personal jokes, those kinds of things. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about for creating connection would be a sexual connection. This is the only a relationship, a marriage, or a long-term relationship is the only relationship on earth where you are that close to a person without being a blood relative. So it's very, very important to understand that sex is a major part of this relationship. Even if you have some disability and you can't have actual sex, it is extremely important to connect. The biggest organ in our body is the skin, and to touch each other, to love each other, to sit by each other, to figure out more ways than just sex to connect, but also negotiating a time. Two things that I would love for you guys to do is negotiating a time, maybe scheduling sex. There's nothing wrong with scheduling sex. When you schedule sex that day, I would like for you guys to start flirting, 6 to 8 hours before. That's what, and to make it special, to give it time, to give it space, to not ignore it, and not to be in this way that we schedule sex on Tuesday. Let me see if she remembers. Let me see. No, none of that. Stop the whole trying to catch your partner being wrong or bad. Have a partnership about that. Schedule it, remind each other, get excited together, and have a good time doing it. The other thing that I hear from women a lot more than men is that many women say that, many times I want to touch my husband, I want to come close to my partner, but I don't do it because every time I touch him, he thinks that, I just want to have sex. And so if this is your case, please communicate. There are misconceptions about men out there. Some of these misconceptions are ones that even men own and live by, that I just want to have sex. It is not true. Men are beautiful, lovely human beings that love to be loved, and they love to be touched, and it's not all about sex for them. As much as we want to joke about it and laugh about it, they love to be loved in so many ways. So negotiate that, and even tell your partner, have these lines that I want to start in our relationship. What can I say to let you know that I want to touch for a long period of time, but I don't want to have sex? Literally have that session, no sex touching. It is very, very central to have that. So maybe definitely negotiate that. Another thing that I want you to negotiate to create stronger connection, especially a connection with sex, is that a lot of couples have a hard time communicating when they feel like having sex. If that is your case, You guys have to talk about it. Drop your egos, drop your, whatever BS. Talk to each other about what, creative way you want to come up with. You want to keep a code word, I don't know, like spaceship or whatever you guys are into. It's best to keep something, if there's going to be a code word that you're going to use, that's something that connects you both, and to use that and make sure you both agree to the word, because don't just agree because, the other person's saying it. You both have to have a connection with that word. And when you say it, or some way, or some, if it's not a word, it could be a signal, a gesture, or something. But make sure you negotiate that and you get clear on that. One of the last concepts I want to talk about in creating connection is love languages. Gary Chapman came out with love languages. He says there are 5 love languages. Everybody has one primary. Sometimes people have 2 primaries. You can go to his website, Google him, and take the little quiz to find out what your love languages are. And it's very important to know what your partner's love language is, because we don't have that much time. We want to become effective lovers of our partners. So if you have 45 minutes, if you have 3 hours, if you have 6 hours, and your goal at that time is that I'm going to love my partner, well, then learn how to love your partner the way your partner likes to be loved. So I want to illustrate what love languages really are is with an example. Let's assume that there's a woman whose love language is acts of service. Now, most of us like to love other people in the same love language that we have. So she goes crazy trying to clean the house up. She's vacuuming, she's driving herself crazy, she's getting tired, and her partner is saying, come sit by me, let's hang out, let's spend some time together. And she's like, no. And she's thinking to herself, he doesn't even know how this is going to be so good when I'm done cleaning up. He's going to love it. He doesn't even know what he wants. And this is just going to be fabulous. And she's expressing her love by cleaning the house and whatever. When she's tired, she spent all this time together, she comes by her husband. Now her husband or her partner, his love language is quality time. He feels loved when people spend quality time with him. So he's thinking, wait, if she loved me and not the people that are coming over, or not this house or neatness or cleanness, she would have come and hung out with me. So he's totally annoyed. He's like, you know what? She obviously doesn't care about me. And she's come by him. She's totally excited. She's like, oh, I'm so good. I cleaned up the house. Everything looks so good. I bet he's going to love it. And he's totally annoyed with her because he's like, you obviously don't love me. So, and she's like, whoa, my mom was totally right about him. He doesn't appreciate anything. I'm not going to do anything nice for him ever again. And so, and he's thinking to himself, wait, she spends all this time we had in cleaning up this house instead of hanging out with me. And now she's come by me and she's showing me her moods. So what's happening is that they both love each other, but they're missing each other. Their love languages are different. Now understand that people usually will get into relationships with people that are opposite to them. And often people say to me, you know what? We're just too different. That's why we need to break up. We're just too different. And I always tell them, the differences are what are tantalizing in a relationship. That is what that's what's going to get you in a relationship. Many times when I see love languages of my partner, my couples, the partners will have opposite love languages or very different love languages. And this is not about you being different. It's about you letting the differences get to you. And instead of making use of the beauty of the differences, again, being curious about each other, loving each other in that way that first tantalized you with the differences. So that's the love language. Now, one of the things that I will tell you, if the love language, first of all, if the love language comes back as, giving words of affirmation, which is giving compliments to your partner, and you're like, oh, I don't know how to give compliments, or I don't know how to do it doesn't matter if you don't know how to do it. If you love your partner, you're going to figure it out. If you don't know how to do it, Google it, go to a therapist, find out, but get it done. Learn to love your partner the way your partner likes to be loved. Now, one of the biggest mistakes misunderstandings about love languages is that we think that when we get our results for love languages, this is a list. This is my result for love language. This is a list for my partner. This is a to-do list for my partner. This is a complete misunderstanding of love languages. When you get that results from your quiz, from your love language quiz, that is the most important person. The person who needs to know that the most is you. You have to know your love languages because it is every adult human being's job to teach the people around them, whether it's their children, whether it's adults, whoever it is, their friends, how they want to be loved. You are the understander of that and the gatekeeper of that and the maintainer of that. It is not another person's job to ask for it and to make sure that it happens. Now, if the other person is interested in making you happy, they can use this information to make you happy. But number one project of every adult human being is to make themselves happy. No person in this world can make you happy if you don't want to be happy or if you don't work on your own happiness. When we think that our happiness is dependent on our partner, that is called codependency. We need an entirely different course and 3 more hours to talk about that. But it's unnatural and it's not real. We have to be the ones that are taking care of ourselves and our own happiness, not the other person. So the other concept that I want to talk about that has to do with love languages is Gary Chapman's concept of love tank. And John Gottman, who's one of the biggest researchers in the world of relationship counseling, also speaks about this same concept and uses the term emotional bank account. Now, the love tank and the emotional bank account, which is the same thing, is very important to understand for connection. We are humans. We're going to mess up. We're going to make a mistake. I'm a relationship specialist. I, speak about this all the time. I teach this to everybody. I make mistakes in my relationship too. All of us will make mistakes. You always want to make sure that the love tank and the emotional bank or the emotional bank account are filled, so that when we make a mistake and we go and we want to withdraw from that emotional bank account, there is something in there for us to withdraw from. If we keep on withdrawing, and it's empty, they're gonna shut our account down. So make sure that you are connecting with your partner, loving them with your eyes, with your time, with your attention, being there. Most important thing I want you to understand about connection, it is about experiencing your partner, not just doing. Yes, there is a lot of doing. I'm going to admit that there's a lot of doing, but ultimately it is about experiencing your partner and allowing the other person to experience you. So use all of these tools and these tricks and these ideas to make sure that your love tank and your emotional bank account is full. One of the ways that I know like this, that my couples are coming in with empties and their account is empty, is when they start fighting about the smallest things. They're just walking down the hall and they're getting annoyed at the the person didn't even say anything. They're just sitting there and you're just getting annoyed. Number one, you have to check whether you're taking care of yourself. If that's happening, are you happy? Are you taking care of yourself? Number two, you guys have to both work on your love tank. Work on your own love tank. Work on your relationship love tank. So that's it for today. I really hope that, some of these things are things that you can use. I do have worksheets that you can use if you want to deepen your concept of these things and to learn how to do these well. It's one thing to get a lot of information, and it's another thing to use that information for your transformation. And that, which is why I do have some worksheets if you would like to print them out and use them. However, this is all, whether this works or not, is all going to depend on your motivation. How motivated are you to have a greater understanding and communication with your partner, to have a deeper connection with your partner. All of these things work. They really do work. We use them regularly, and I'm so excited for you to now start using them in your relationship. Thank you for listening. I'm Sanya Bari again. Goodbye.